All right, so, oh man, sorry, I'm sick. This is an off the cuff rant, um, just because I felt like it. I'm just gonna rant about whatever, man, and like probably like 75% of people are gonna click off right when they hear the first couple of seconds of this. But man, we got some issues. We got some major issues with the world. You know, um, we have the climate change is a big issue, and for all you right wing sort of people, I'm not like gonna harp on that too much. You know what I mean? Like, I'm a realist. Like, what are we gonna do about it? Are we gonna let China and India do whatever they want to do, pollute the atmosphere, pollute their countries? Although that kind of matters less to the Western world, but still, it's a big issue, right? If we drop our carbon output by like 2% or 10%, it's going to massively harm our economy. Meanwhile, China and India are building massive coal plants every 5 seconds. Like, that's not going to help us, Like, we're just shooting ourselves in the foot. And like, I am coming from an American perspective on this. Like, I know there's like not a lot like individuals can do, but like we got some major issues, dude. We got like our economy is all controlled by like five companies. We got big tech making data centers every 5 seconds for some AI bullshit, and we're basically betting the house on AI being incredible and replacing all these jobs. But then it's like, if we replace all these jobs successfully, like, what are people gonna do? Are they gonna like? Are we gonna do like a UBI thing? Are we gonna like all get a check from the government every time that, or like every month? You know what I mean? Like, it's gonna be bad. Either way, like if AI succeeds, people lose their jobs, right? But if AI fails, the economy crashes and we all lose our jobs anyway. So we're just screwed, right? And no one knows when the other shoe's going to drop. Like, we're all just waiting with bated breath, like, oh, the gold's creeping up there. The stock market's at an all-time high. Never mind the Jeffrey Epstein client list. I digress. We got some big issues, folks. I don't know what's going to happen with the U.S., like, who's going to be president. Like, no matter where you live, who's the president of America. And when you say America, you know that I'm talking about the USA. I'm not talking about Canada or Mexico or any of the other countries, Argentina, Brazil. I'm not talking about any of those. When I say, oh, I'm from America, if I'm in Australia, I say, oh, I'm from America, you know what I mean. You're going to assume I'm from the USA. You're not going to assume I'm Canadian or Mexican or anything else, But, what's going to happen with America? We have all these political assassinations going on. Charlie Kirk. We are Charlie Kirk. We have all these, all this tension with like the DHS and Minnesota, like the deportations, rounding people up, people getting shot, it's going to happen, like you have all these protesters, you have all these law enforcement in one place, you have the protesters doing some stupid shit, you have Sig Sauer making shitty pistols. It's just going to happen, I saw an interesting headline today. It was IQ is, it went up. There's like a chart that shows like as countries develop, their average IQ shoots up and then kind of plateaus. And then it shows like, curiously, like Western countries show a slight decline in average IQ recently. And I'm like, oh, no shit. One thing I think we need to reckon with is that people are not the same. You know what I mean? Like different races, different nationalities, ethnicities, whatever you want to call it. People are not the same, right? And this is a radical take nowadays, but people from one region, right? If you have a bunch of people from different regions in one place, you're going to have conflict. What? People are tribal. People are more likely to sympathize with those that look like them and have the same kind of, like features and behaviors as them. That's a shocker. Who would have ever thought? You know what I mean? Like you take like 100 people from, I don't know, like the Levantine region, like Palestine, Israel. Take 100 people from Asia, 100 people from Africa, 100 people from Europe. They're gonna instantly, like almost immediately, they're gonna form tribes. They're gonna be with people that look like them, that have the same culture, traditions, and kind of. Like, let's face it, there's a genetic component to it, right? Like, have you seen like Aboriginal Australians? Like they look way different than like any other type of human, right? And I'm not trying to dehumanize anyone or say that like one race is like better than any other race, because I'm not about that. But we need to like be real about it, because like the alternative is that we just, I don't know, like we just have all this discord all the time. And like, I hate to say it, but like I think Africa was in like a little better position when European countries were controlling those countries, right? Like you had like the let's look at Zimbabwe and Rhodesia, right? Like what's the first thing people did when people left Rhodesia? Like all the white people, the British people left Rhodesia. They like burned down like infrastructure. All the train tracks went to shit because they weren't maintained. I mean, like, I hate to say it, but like maybe some people aren't very good at like maintenance and like managing stuff and having like a high trust society. I don't know how much of that is like genetic versus cultural. It's up for debate, but there's definitely a genetic component to it, right? So like, I'm not trying to be a monster, but like, what's best for people, right? Are we gonna like live in some pretend world where everyone's exactly the same, right? It's like you look at the 100-meter dash Olympic champions. They're all from West Africa, specifically. Not even South Africa or East Africa or North Africa. They're all from West Africa. Like there's obviously genetic differences between people. Which country has the tallest people in the world? It's the Netherlands. People that are Dutch are tall, on average, right? Now, are there tall Asians? Are there tall South Africans? Are there tall Native Americans? Sure, right? But that doesn't change the fact that like we have broad genetic differences between races and ethnicities. And like, there's a lot of mixed race people. I'm not trying to get in the weeds here. All I'm saying is that there's broad differences, and it's not just physical. There's some societal, mental, whatever differences. And I'm coming at this from a place of love. Like, what is going to be best for the most people, right? And I don't think that a one world government solution is going to help us, because Lord knows, some people from the Middle East with tiny hats are going to be running that shit, and they're going to be, keeping the discord alive, because as we all know, peace is the enemy of Israel, right? They can't have peace because they thrive when there's discord and issues, right? All I'm saying is like we need to be real with each other, and we need to, I think, self-segregate in a way. And I don't know exactly how that's going to work, but I mean, like on a long enough time scale, it almost seems to me like kind of inevitable. Like it has to happen at some point. Like if you have all these people from different backgrounds, different ethnicities, different cultures living in one place, it causes issues. We've seen this throughout history, right? Like the common leftist talking point is like, oh, like Britain came into this country and drew borders everywhere, or this region. They just drew borders willy-nilly without any consideration for cultural, ethnic lines or whatever, like borders, right? Like they had this country with like all these people in one place that were different from each other, and that was a problem. And then it's like, oh, so that's a problem? And they're like, well, I don't know. I mean, like multiculturalism is good, actually. It's a big issue, right? And I don't want to. I'm not in favor of like stripping away rights from people. This surveillance state. This shit's got me scared, man. Like they're trying to track everything we do constantly. Face identification, face recognition. All these AI systems coming out, and then you have obviously. My mom always told me, "Watch out for the killer robots. They're coming to get you." You know, and I was always like, "Okay, mom, whatever." And now I'm actually concerned about like, what if militaries across the world have killer robots that have facial recognition that can like detect like, oh, you're a citizen of this country and just shoot you. Like you can have whatever you want. You can have a shotgun, pistol, AR-15. You can have a fully automatic rifle. It's not going to matter, right? And I know that AR-15s are not fully automatic, you know, in the U.S. unless you have a permit or something or modify them illegally. I'm aware of that. All I'm saying is like it's not going to matter, right? Like if we have these Boston Dynamics dog robots with turrets mounted to them with facial recognition, how are you going to defend against that? Could you actually defend your family from like 50 robots with guns? I don't think you could. So like shit's getting bad. We have a lot of centralization of power. We have I mean shit, dude, like the more the government leaves people alone, I think the better, right? But we have all these systems, we have taxes, and it's like at this point, like the adage is true, right? Like power is power, right? Like Mao Zedong, I think he said something like power comes from the barrel of a rifle, something along those lines. It might have been Stalin, I forget. I'm just riffing here, but like it's true. Like power is power. Like physical power is actual power. If you have the ability to shoot people, then you have the power, right? And it's like we have all these systems. We're so isolated in the West anyway from like reality, like the actual hardships. Like you read about our ancestors, right? You go to some national park, you see some monument, you're like, oh, like pioneers trekked across the West and died here. Or like, you know, people came from Europe and set up shop here and died. A lot of them died. It's like you read about it, but you're so disconnected from it, right? And we have some times where we're more connected to it. Like, you know, we have a lot of people that are homeless. We have camping. You go out in the woods. You rough it for a bit. But we all have iPhones. We all have access to clean water. You know, a lot of us nowadays have phones that can hook up to satellites, and you can request assistance in a medical evacuation, life flight helicopter, no matter where you are, right? Like there's a lot of good that comes from this modern era that we're in. But the bad side is that we have this machine it's this entity that just keeps running, right? And it's governments, and they're not infallible, especially weaker governments of smaller countries. We've seen some coups lately, but we have all these systems. That's my brother calling. I'll call him back. We have all these systems that just keep us. I don't know, like. It's like, what are you going to do? How can you survive without the system? You know, and it goes no matter where you are, right? In England, it's getting really bad. In the UK, you have people knocking on doors saying, oh, we saw you made a Twitter post that was not quite right. And it's like, that's fucked. We shouldn't have that. We shouldn't have police knocking at your door for some shit you said, right? If you did something, that's one thing. Or if you made a credible threat, like, I plan on, you know, going to this place and shooting this person at this time, and I'm going to do it, and here's, you know, like evidence that I'm going to do it. That's one thing, right? But like if you're just like ranting like I am right now, that shouldn't be like an actionable offense. And I feel like average people need to like put their foot down. And when it comes to the US and probably a lot of Western countries in general, I see within our near future, and by near future I mean the next 100 or so years, I see balkanization, right? Because you have all these people that want to live in different ways, right? Like, I don't know, half of me wants Canada, the US, and Mexico to like band together and then just have one mega country that's like super powerful. Because damn it, I'm an American, and I do love the idea of America. I love American culture. That's what I was raised in. at my heart, I'm a patriot, right? But I see my government committing a lot of bad actions, right? And it doesn't matter which administration is in power, which, Republican, Democrat, red, blue. The U.S. government has gotten really, really like too big for its britches, right? And there are some things that it does that are good that need to get done. But shit, man, I mean, probably half of our budget does not need to be spent. Like what are we paying all these boomers that are like super rich from investing in the stock market, or they have a pension or blah, blah, blah. And they're all super wealthy. They own multiple homes. They own all these assets like, precious metals, stocks, and they're super rich. They're going on vacations every month or like every couple months. And their kids are like coming home for Thanksgiving like, yeah, it's really hard. We're struggling out there. And the boomers are like, oh, geez, that's tough. But then I saw one post that was like a boomer saying like, oh, yeah, my kids were talking about like their future. And they said, yeah, after we get an inheritance, we plan on doing this. And I was offended. Like, what, are you waiting for me to die? And so then like the person they were writing into, it was like a ask whoever, like newspaper thing, like a blurb, like ask the editor or something. And they were like, oh yeah, like these kids, your kids are banking on your death to live a comfortable life. What you probably should do is just enjoy your rest of your life to the fullest by spending all your money, like drawing down your assets, spending all your money, going on vacations, and just fucking them over. Don't leave them a dime, right? And that's so screwed. One quote I've always thought was really wise was that a civilization is good when old men plant trees whose shade they won't be able to sit in, right? They will die before the tree provides shade, but they're doing it for the future generations, right? And you have all this conflict, you have wars between the sexes, men and women hating each other. It's not good, and I see the bad sides of both. I see all these OnlyFans girls being super promiscuous. I see these men wasting their lives away, not improving themselves, and not being the kind of men that deserve marriage and a family. And I see failure on both sides, but I also see people that are beaten down by a system that does not serve them. It serves these entities, these corporations, the government, these multinational, entities, the UN. There's a lot of what's the word I'm looking for? There's a lot of agendas at play. There's a lot of motivations for the world to go in this direction or that direction. And people are just getting tired. They're getting beat down. And it's like we have material wealth for the moment until we have the AI depression, which, personally, I don't know. Like a lot of people think, AI is going to explode. It's going to be the next big thing, whatever. I'm going to invest in every AI company I can. And then you have some people like, it's going to be like the Great Depression times 5. And then you have some people like, it's going to be another .com bubble. We're building all these data centers with money that doesn't exist yet. But even if we build them, we'll still find a use for them. It won't be that bad. It'll be like 2008, 2009, which was still bad. But no, not like the end of the world. Like collapse of supply lines and everything. And I'm kind of in the middle of those. I'm kind of agreeing with the last one that I mentioned. Like, it's going to be bad. I don't know how bad it's going to be. But people are just being beaten down by the system. We have all these things we need. Healthcare, education, which the educational system in America is obviously broken. Like high school doesn't teach any actual useful skills. And they're pushing college. Like college. And then all these colleges, universities are spending massive amounts of money on shit that doesn't actually educate people. Right? And there should be some extracurricular stuff, but the whole system is a mess. Everywhere you go, no matter how you slice it. If you're a young person born in America today, I honestly don't know what is going to await you when you're an adult, when you get to be in your 20s. I have no idea. Because there's a million ways we could go. And that goes, when I say America, I mean the West, right? Because I live in America. That's my context in which I exist. I've been to Canada, I've been to Mexico. I haven't been outside of America as a double continent, right? But there's a lot that can happen, right? You have China, you have Russia, you have all these other countries that don't matter, and who knows? Who knows what's going to happen, man? I don't. But we have a lot of issues, and I don't really see it getting better before it gets worse, right? I think it's going to get worse before it gets better. That's another saying. It's as old as time, right? One thing I've been looking into lately is Chinese history, because obviously the Chinese are a particular ethnic group with a particular culture that's kind of somewhat still the same as it was 3,000, 4,000 years ago. It's been around for a long time, but like you see their ebbs and flows of their nations, and obviously they don't have the same technology as we do, and that is going to change things a little bit. I think that's going to change the arithmetic in predicting how societies evolve, ebb and flow. What if Alt Hist on YouTube? I love him, but he makes some retarded takes sometimes. There's a lot to consider, and a lot of young people, especially, they look on the internet, they look for an ideology that suits them, that tells them what they want to hear. You have a lot of young men going far right, and you have a lot of young women going far left. I think it's all a distraction. It's a sideshow, right? We need to make communities of people. We're not meant to live like this. We need to love each other. We need to have communities of people that care about each other, that support each other. The human brain, I know it's been said, the human brain was not meant to basically exist in a community that has more than like a couple hundred people at max, maybe a couple dozen people, right? We're meant to know our neighbors. We're meant to know all of the people in our whole world that we interact with on an intimate level, somewhat, right? So living in New York City, that is an insane life experience. To live in a city that has millions of people in a very small geographical area, or Mexico City, or Shanghai, or Hong Kong, or London. There's a million cities I could name off, but not a million. But there's dozens of cities I could name off that have millions of people living in a small area. How many of those people are you ever going to meet? How many will you know their names, right? We're not meant to live like this. We're all anonymized. We're atomized. We don't have communities and societies. Not really. We have countries. We have a lot of information and noise all the time. But the way we live isn't good. It's not good. Everyone can feel it. Everyone can feel the malaise. Everyone can feel the exhaustion that comes with existing in the modern world. And a lot of people just want to be left alone, and I totally get that. But we have to change the way society is structured, right? And I don't know how that's going to happen, but it has to happen. And it's going to happen at some point. It's inevitable. Or we'll just all be slaves like the Matrix and just, serve the robots. I don't even know what's going to happen. But in this exact moment, this snapshot, February 2026, the world is looking real unsteady. It's looking really, really unsteady. It's looking precarious. And I don't envy my grandkids. I'll tell you that. Because I do intend on having a family. And that's me putting my money where my mouth is, right? Like, we need to have kids to make the world a better place. We need to raise them properly and try to have them have a better childhood than us and be raised with strong morals and, to know what's right and wrong, to be well adjusted. No hands-off parenting. No helicopter parenting. Just the right amount of parenting, common sense stuff that all of your ancestors for hundreds of thousands of years would have done. Let kids make some mistakes, but still watch out for them. Raise them to love themselves and their people and their culture to an extent. Nowadays, that's a little tricky because we're all somehow super different from each other, but also the same as each other at the same time. It's a lot. And I don't know, it's really cheesy. It might be like millennial coded or something, but I'm really feeling that quote from Fight Club that our war is a spiritual war. You know, we are fighting for our humanity and our souls. And I don't care what religion you are. You can be any religion you like. You can be Christian, Muslim, Shinto. I don't care, right? You can be agnostic or atheist. But you have to know there's something wrong about the way that we're existing. Humans are spiritual creatures, and we have to worship something. You know, and this is like a part of who we are. We have to worship something. And if we don't worship anything, then we worship the next best thing, which for a lot of people is politics or sports or, whatever it is. There is a sickness in our societies the world over, but especially in Western societies, and we have to get rid of it. We have to go back to the basics, maybe. I mean, we have to, if that means, getting rid of a lot of our technology or something, it is what it is. But we can't keep going the way we're going. And that's about it. It's mostly to do with, I think, sociology, anthropology. Some of it is climate, which I kind of brushed on in the beginning, but I think we'll adapt no matter what. I asked Grok, and Grok told me that the atmosphere will be breathable for many thousands of years, even if we make the planet hotter. So if we make the planet hotter, then we'll move north, right? It is what it is. Are we going to go into the stars? I don't know. I kind of don't think so at the moment. Because, we always, since the 40s, have had the threat of nuclear war looming over our heads. And we're probably on a long enough time scale going to blow ourselves up before we get to the stars. But maybe. That'd be cool. I'm a big Robert Heinlein fan. I love Robert Heinlein novels. Orson Scott Card, Ender's Game. I love the whole idea of like different star systems and different regions of the galaxy being inhabited by people that were offshoots and kind of reinterpretations of cultures on Earth. I kind of like that idea. I don't know if it's realistic. And I think if you have faith in something, that will help you get through this time. So my biggest, if I could, if anyone's listening to this video, agreeing with me, saying like, yeah, like it's fucked up. Like, I don't know what we're going to do. Have faith, whatever you believe in, dig into it, plant your heels, and believe in it. Because it's not going to get any better in our lifetimes, I don't think. At least not societally. So cling fast, hold fast to whatever iron rod you got. That's my Mormon background coming in. And just do the best you can. Be good to your people in your life. The biggest difference you can make is on a small scale. So that's all I got.